Picture this. A really successful family man, a, uh, a well-to-do escrow agent.
Right?
He is found dead in the scorching Arizona desert. And get this, he was wearing a bulletproof vest.
Which is already wild.
Right. He's been shot in the back of the head with his own gun. And clipped securely inside his underwear is a $2 bill. And it is covered in cryptic codes, alphabetical names, and a hand-drawn map.
It really sounds like a movie.
It does. But despite the sheer impossibility of the scene, the police officially ruled his death a suicide.
It reads exactly like the final act of some neo-noir thriller, but every single piece of that physical evidence was cataloged in a real police file.
Welcome to this deep dive. We're so thrilled you're sitting down with us today to go over this one.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. To really grasp the sheer strangeness of what happened to Chuck Morgan, you kind of have to understand the specific mechanics of the world he was operating in.
The setting is crucial.
Right. We're talking about Tucson, Arizona in the 1970s. Most people picture this sunny, peaceful retirement spot. But in reality, it was a major haven for over 500 mafia racketeers.
500.
Yeah, including notorious figures like former New York crime boss Joe Bonanno.
And the reason these heavy hitters were setting up shop in the desert, well, it wasn't the weather, it was the law.
Exactly.
At the time, Arizona had a highly unique legal loophole. It basically allowed real estate purchases to be made through numbered blind trust accounts.
Which is just a recipe for fraud.
Totally. Think of it like buying a massive commercial property while wearing a legal invisibility cloak. The state sees the cloak, but only the escrow agent handling the paperwork sees your actual face.
Right. So if you are an organized crime syndicate and you need to launder millions of dollars of illicit cash, I mean, this is the perfect untraceable system.
You just pump dirty money into a blind trust.
Yeah. You buy a strip mall, sell it, and suddenly your money is perfectly clean. And Chuck Morgan wasn't just a bystander in this ecosystem. He ran his own escrow agency.
He was the man holding the invisibility cloaks.
Precisely.
Which puts him right at the nexus of some incredibly dangerous money. So let's start the timeline.
March 20th, 1977.
Right. Chuck Morgan leaves his house to drop his two daughters off at school. After he drops them off, he vanishes.
He's gone.
He never makes it to work. His family hears absolutely nothing. For 3 full days, there is just dead silence.
I can't even imagine the panic.
Then, on March 25th at 2 a.m., his wife, Ruth, is woken up by the family dog barking. She hears a heavy thump at the back door. She opens it, and Chuck is standing there.
But the condition he was in fundamentally altered the trajectory of their lives.
Yeah, he's missing a shoe. He has a plastic zip-tie handcuff fastened tightly around his hands, and another one dangling from his ankle like he had partially broken free.
And he is completely mute.
Yes. He cannot speak a single word.
Yeah.
He has to communicate with Ruth by frantically writing on a legal pad.
He writes that he had been kidnapped, held in a location near the Phoenix airport, and psychologically tortured.
And the method of torture.
The specific method of torture he described is what really stands out in the source material. Chuck claimed that his captors had forcefully painted a potent hallucinogenic drug onto the lining of his throat.
Just bizarre.
According to his handwritten notes, this chemical was a ticking time bomb. He wrote that if he swallowed it, the drug would either drive him irrevocably insane, permanently destroy his central nervous system, or just kill him outright.
Naturally, Ruth's first instinct is to grab the phone, call the police, and get an ambulance. But Chuck physically stops her.
He is absolutely terrified.
Terrified. He writes down that if she involves the authorities, it will be signing a death warrant for their entire family.
Wow.
So instead of going to a hospital, Ruth spends the next week nursing him back to health in absolute secret. She is carefully feeding him liquids through an eyedropper to avoid triggering whatever was on his throat.
And as he begins to recover, the story he writes down for his wife escalates.
It gets so much crazier.
He tells Ruth he has a secret identity. He claims he's actually been working undercover for the U.S. Treasury Department for the past 2 to 3 years.
Actively fighting organized crime from within the escrow business.
Yeah. He literally wrote on the notepad, "They took my Treasury identification."
Now, Ruth had been married to this man for years and had never heard a single whisper about the Treasury Department.
What's fascinating here is analyzing this from a critical thinking perspective. Was Chuck truly a secret federal agent whose cover was blown? Or was this an elaborate, desperate cover story to explain his disappearance?
Because the Reddit investigators we sourced bring up a really good point.
Right, the sleuths who follow organized crime tactics raise a crucial issue. The psychological warfare Chuck described, painting hallucinogens on someone's throat and dropping them at their back door, is a massive anomaly.
Yeah, the mob in the 1970s wasn't really known for theatrical Batman villain tactics.
They didn't leave you alive with an eyedropper warning. They put you in a barrel.
Exactly. This leads a lot of researchers to wonder if Chuck was hiding a botched money laundering deal from his own family.
If he had dipped into the mob's money or maybe lost it, he might have fabricated the kidnapping and the treasury story.
Just to explain away a terrible situation without admitting to his wife that he was actively working for a cartel.
Right. But whatever happened during those 3 missing days, it completely broke his psyche.
Over the next 2 months, Chuck's behavior shifts drastically. He is consumed by paranoia. He starts wearing a heavy Kevlar bulletproof vest under his clothes every single day.
He carries a concealed weapon everywhere he goes.
He refuses to let his daughters walk outside alone, and he insists on being the only person to drive them to and from school.
He was visibly bracing for an impact.
And the impact hits on June 7th, 1977. Chuck vanishes for the second time.
And this time, he does not come back to the back door.
No. But the people involved with his disappearance do make contact. A week later, on June 14, Ruth receives a chilling phone call.
A woman's voice comes on the line.
Right. She later identifies herself to the police simply as Green Eyes. She asks for Ruthie, and then she delivers a very specific cryptic message. She says, Chuck is all right. Ecclesiastes 12, 1-8.
And then she just hangs up the phone.
It is a terrifying message to receive. I want you to imagine being in Ruth's position for a second. Your husband has been missing for a week.
You're already carrying the trauma of the zip ties and the eyedropper incident.
Exactly. Then a total stranger calls your private home number and recites a bleak, apocalyptic Bible verse.
It's awful.
I'm actually going to read a portion of that specific verse because it is vital to the case. It says, "Men are afraid of a high place and of terrors on the road. Remember him before the silver cord is broken and the golden bowl is crushed. Then the dust will return to the earth as it was, and the spirit will return to God who gave it."
It reads less like a reassurance and more like a eulogy.
It really does.
Yeah.
And why should you care about this specific verse? Because it becomes the central key to deciphering the physical evidence left behind.
Which brings us to June 18, 1977.
4 days after that phone call, Chuck's body is finally discovered. He's found on a desolate dirt road in the desert near San Juan Springs, about 40 miles west of Tucson.
And this crime scene completely defies the laws of physics and logic.
It makes no sense.
Let's lay out the physical contradictions that investigators documented. First, Chuck is found wearing his bulletproof vest. He's wearing a custom belt buckle that has a hidden knife concealed inside it.
Armed to the teeth.
Yeah. He has been shot exactly once at close range in the back of the head. His own .357 Magnum revolver is lying in the dirt beside him.
The forensics take this from strange to impossible. The police swab Chuck's hands and find gunshot residue on his left hand.
But when the crime lab dusts that .357 Magnum,
There are 0 fingerprints on the gun itself. Not Chuck's, not the killer's, not anyone's. The weapon had been wiped completely clean of all prints.
and yet the Pima County Sheriff's Department officially ruled Chuck Morgan's death a suicide.
Which is astounding.
This raises an important question. How does a man purposefully drive out to the desert, put on a Kevlar vest to protect his torso, shoot himself in the back of the head, wipe the gun entirely clean of prints as he's dying, and then drop it in the dirt?
Here's where it gets really interesting. You can't just look at the body. You have to look at his Mercury Cougar parked nearby.
Oh yeah, the car.
Someone had completely modified the car. It was rewired so you could unlock the doors from the outside fender, bypassing the keys entirely.
Like a smuggler's vehicle.
Inside the car, police find a cache of weapons, extra ammunition, and multiple CB radios. They find a handwritten note with turn-by-turn directions to the exact spot in the desert where his body was found.
And handwriting experts confirmed Chuck wrote it himself.
Right. They also find a pair of sunglasses that Ruth adamantly stated did not belong to Chuck. And in perhaps the most macabre detail of the entire case, on the back seat, they find a piece of Chuck's own tooth, carefully wrapped in a white handkerchief.
When you aggregate those details, the suicide narrative crumbles. The true crime forums heavily debate the mechanics of the gunshot.
The big topic online.
One commenter noted that it is physiologically incredibly difficult to shoot yourself in the back of the head with a heavy .357 Magnum revolver. The angle of the wrist and the weight of the barrel make it a completely unnatural movement.
Another user suggested a much more grim reality that actually aligns with the evidence. Chuck was forced to his knees with his hands clasped behind his head, execution style.
Which perfectly explains the gunshot residue on his left hand.
Yes. If his hands were interlaced behind his head when the gun went off inches away, the residue would naturally settle on his hands without requiring him to be the one actually pulling the trigger.
It reconciles the forensic anomaly.
It does.
But the most baffling piece of evidence wasn't the gun or the tooth in the car. It was the $2 bill.
Tucked away, clipped securely inside Chuck's underwear, investigators found a $2 bill covered in handwritten ciphers. Let's paint a picture of what this looked like, because it is wild.
Yeah, map it out.
On the front of the bill, someone, presumably Chuck, had written out 7 Spanish surnames in alphabetical order from A to G: Acevedo, Berrano, Cajero, Guarte, Encinas, Fuente, and Grodillas.
Very specific.
Above those names, the words Ecclesiastes 12 were written, with distinct arrows pointing directly to the numbers 1 and 8 on the bill's serial code.
The exact same verse the Green Eyes caller recited to Ruth.
Exactly. If you flip the $2 bill over, it has that famous engraving of the signers of the Declaration of Independence. Chuck had numbered 7 of those founding fathers, 1 through 7.
And sketched right over their faces was a crude, hand-drawn map tracing a route leading to Robles Junction in Sasabe.
Right. For those who aren't familiar with the geography of 1970s Arizona, Robles Junction and Sasabe were notorious heavy traffic areas for border smuggling.
We're talking established cartel routes for narcotics, weapons, and bulk cash.
The Reddit detectives went to work deciphering this bill. They found something genuinely startling regarding those 7 Spanish surnames. A local historian pointed out that Acevedo through Grodillas actually matched the last names of specific law enforcement officers working in southern Arizona at exact time.
Which opens up a massive implication. Was Chuck leaving behind a hit list?
Or was he identifying corrupt local cops who were on the mob's payroll?
Some researchers argue it was a classic book cipher. In a book cipher, you use a specific text, in this case, the Bible, as the key.
Right, so the arrows pointing to the 1 and 8 on the serial number, combined with Ecclesiastes 12.1 day, might mean taking the first chapter, the 12th verse, the 8th word, to spell out a hidden message.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we have to ground these theories back in Chuck's reality.
Keep it grounded in the evidence.
Yeah. While the ideas of complex espionage codes are tempting, the map and the names directly tie into his day-to-day business. He was an escrow agent dealing with land ownership.
Those border towns on the hand-drawn map were prime real estate for blind trust land fraud.
He was essentially carrying a treasure map to the mob's laundering infrastructure right in his underwear.
So while the authorities are staring at this $2 bill in the desert trying to make sense of the map, the phone rings at the precincts.
A few days after Chuck's body is found, the mysterious Green Eyes caller resurfaces.
She actually calls the Palm County Police directly.
She claims that she had been meeting Chuck at an EZ8 motel on the west side of town in the days before his death.
And she told the detectives that during their last meeting, Chuck opened up a briefcase and showed her $60,000 in cash. He told her that there was a $90,000 mob contract out on his life.
And that the price of the hit was increasing by $5,000 every single day.
He was frantically trying to gather enough liquid cash to buy off the hitman.
This is where the investigative work of journalist Don Devereaux completely blows the scope of this case wide open.
Devereaux did some amazing work here.
He didn't just look at the weird clues, he followed the money. He dug deep into the financial records and uncovered that Chuck wasn't just doing standard mid-level escrow work.
No, he was allegedly laundering over $1 billion in gold, bullion, and platinum transactions for organized crime families.
$1 billion in the 1970s.
We really need to understand the mechanics of that. You don't just walk into a bank with $1 billion in gold.
No, you don't.
Chuck was using his agency to create a labyrinth of blind trusts. He was setting up shell corporations, transferring massive assets between them, and using the legal protection of the escrow system to wash the cartel's money, so it looked like legitimate real estate capital.
What pushes this from a local crime story into a federal nightmare is his record keeping. Chuck didn't just move the money, he kept the receipts.
Devereaux uncovered that Chuck was a meticulous accountant who reportedly kept duplicate ledgers of all these illicit billion-dollar transactions.
Furthermore, Devereaux discovered a crucial timeline detail. Chuck had recently testified as a secret witness in an extensive state land fraud investigation.
Let's put this entire puzzle together. You have a man who knows exactly how $1 billion of mob money is moving through the state.
He has the duplicate receipts proving it.
He is actively testifying to state investigators. A hit is put out on him. He tries to buy off the hitman with a briefcase full of cash, drives out to a smuggling route in the desert, and gets executed.
And the moment the police officially declare it a suicide, the cover-up begins.
The immediate aftermath is terrifying.
Shortly after the ruling, Chuck's impounded Mercury Cougar is broken into while sitting securely in the police lot.
His escrow office is completely ransacked. Files are emptied, and then the intimidation comes directly to the family's front door.
Two unidentified men knock on Ruth's door. They flash badges, claim to be FBI agents, and completely tear her home apart, searching for something specific.
They tear up the floorboards, they pull out drawers, but they never tell Ruth what they're looking for.
And later, when journalist Don Devereaux filed a Freedom of Information Act request with the real FBI regarding Chuck Morgan, the agency completely denied having any file on him whatsoever.
They had never sent agents to the house.
The ripple effect of investigating this case is chilling, just to show you the sheer lingering danger surrounding this financial information.
It didn't just end with Chuck.
No. Years later, in 1990, after Don Devereaux had started publicly investigating Chuck Morgan's death and digging into the gold bullion laundering, there was a tragic, violent coda. A man named Doug Johnston was shot in the head in his car right across the street from Devereaux's office.
Doug Johnston was completely innocent. He had no ties to the mob or to Chuck Morgan.
But Doug Johnston looked remarkably similar to Don Devereaux, and he drove the exact same model of car.
It is widely suspected by investigators that Johnston was the victim of a botched professional hit.
The bullet was meant to silence the journalist who was getting too close to uncovering the billion-dollar escrow network Chuck Morgan left behind.
So what does this all mean? We have a man deeply embedded in the blind trust underworld of Arizona. A man who gets zip-tied and warned with hallucinogens, who spends his final months armed to the teeth, wearing a Kevlar vest to drop his kids at school.
Who leaves a $2 bill cipher detailing smuggling routes and local law enforcement names clipped inside his underwear.
And we were supposed to believe the official story, that he drove out to the desert, put on that protective vest, and somehow managed to shoot himself in the back of the head, leaving no fingerprints on the gun.
It is a profound contradiction of physical evidence, but there is one final, lingering detail that ties this entire narrative together.
It's something for you to mull over as you think about those missing duplicate ledgers.
Before Chuck vanished for that final time, he spoke to his father. He told his father that if anything fatal ever happened to him, he had hidden a secret letter.
He said this letter would explain absolutely everything. The missing money, the mob connections, the Treasury Department claims.
And most importantly, it would explicitly name the people responsible for his death.
A literal dead man's switch.
Exactly. But that letter, along with the duplicate records of his billion-dollar laundering scheme, has never been found. It vanished with him in the desert.
Which leaves us with a chilling question. When those two men posing as FBI agents tore apart Ruth's house,
Did they find exactly what they were looking for?
did they get the letter before the family ever knew where to look? Wow. That detail is going to stay with me.
It's haunting.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. This case is a stark reminder that the official story is rarely the whole story, and sometimes the most dangerous place to be is the guy holding the invisibility cloak. Keep questioning what you're told, stay deeply curious, and we'll catch you on the next one.